And then,
Stephanie knows, she's a listener.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, she doesn't know the inner workings. No one does. We don't share those with the people. This is secret. People doesn't know the work. We're making the sausage right now. That's what we're doing.
People.
The people. So yeah, we'll fix it later. But we're happy you're here, and this is going to be a great episode about great things that Amanda wrote on this great piece of paper.
I agree. I think it will be really good. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human. Snark sold separately. I'm Coach Amanda, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host.
It's a coach and Nick, and we're back, and we're not. It's not just the two of us; it is actually the three of us. But first off, thank you so much for joining us. We love that you keep coming back. We have a great episode today. We're going to talk about who gets to run, breaking down barriers in sport with our special guest, Stephanie Diaz. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie Diaz, longtime listener, big fan of the podcast, I heard.
Yeah, I'm so happy you said my name right.
I did it.
You know she listens because of that comment.
We're doing well this season. This season, I think I'm like 7 for 8 so far.
It's only been you and me.
I
What do
know.
you mean you've been doing well?
Well, I
this
got your
season?
name right.
Hardly. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Now that I'm a guest, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm so used to listening that I'm like, but wait, where are the grievances? Like, doesn't that happen first before?
We don't know what to say either.
We're gonna we don't. We're just winging it. Why don't we start with by you telling, for those of the listeners and for those of us who don't already know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Stephanie Diaz. I am a run coach, yoga student, yoga teacher. I host retreats. I have kids. I have a dog. Half the time, I feel like I don't know how I'm doing everything that I do, and yet it comes together. So I feel like maybe a more appropriate name for me at this point is just kind of chaos coordinator, because not only do I bring the chaos, but I also organize it and make sure that it helps everyone function. But yeah, people probably, if they know me on Instagram, it's the Cookie Runner. And I'll just get it out of the way now. The reason why it's the Cookie Runner is because when I started running, I thought I could bake cookies to like fundraise for organizations. So the Cookie Runner. And I sold 2 orders of cookies and decided it is too much work and I don't want to do that anymore. But the name stuck. And yes, I do love cookies, especially chocolate chip cookies.
I was going to ask what your favorite cookie is.
Yeah, the answer is chocolate chip always.
Yeah, chocolate chip. I feel like, to me, a chocolate chip cookie is like a cheese pizza where it's so basic, you really shouldn't be able to mess it up, but you can mess it up real easily. So it's a good one.
Yeah.
When you were here in New York, did you go to Levain Bakery?
No, I didn't, but I did get, because they sell them at Whole Foods, right? In the
I
freezer.
saw that they're starting to do that.
It's
Why
not.
are they? They're doing the same thing. They did the same thing with Roberta's Pizza. You go into the freezer. I'm like,
It wasn't.
this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, it was serviceable, right? Like it worked, but it didn't satisfy.
She's like, I ate it. I mean, what else was I supposed to do?
Yeah,
Don't let it go to waste.
Even Whole Foods and Levain catch strays here on this podcast. So
no, that's the grievance, Stephanie.
Yeah.
That is the grievance.
Amanda, you're taking me Levain when I come up for New York City Marathon. That's what I heard.
100%. Yeah, the OG one is by me in the Upper West Side.
Ooh, it's pretty up. I'm not going that high.
Where do you think the marathon
40th
ends?
And 50th.
40?
Yeah, but I mean, it goes up all the way to like 110th, but no one goes up there. It's too far.
No, it ends. No, darling. It ends in the Columbus Circle area, which is the Upper West Side. It's the lower part of the Upper West Side, but it's the Upper West Side.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I get it. I was just being a little funny.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. It's all right because you're from New Jersey,
Yeah,
so we allow it.
where the real bagels come from, and pizza was
Yeah,
born.
I guess so. I guess if you want to call an English muffin a bagel, for sure.
Oh, uh-oh. It's gonna be a problem.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Well,
we're
Stephanie, we love your name. We love cookies. We're happy you're here.
so
And
happy.
Amanda wants to bring some joy to this podcast. She's going to tell us all about her week, and she's going to share all the details because that's what she loves doing.
Oh my Lanta. I am not doing that with you. I am absolutely not doing that. So I will give, but I will humor my co-host. I ran a lovely race, the Mastercard Mini 10K this past weekend, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You can go on
Mile by
Instagram.
mile splits, please. Mile 1.
You can go on my phone is away for the race. I cannot be bothered to do that. I'm so sorry. For those of you who do record your experiences, have at it so long as you're not, putting your hand in another runner's face or cycling through them. Like that's
Just
my
plowing them over.
just plowing them. Those are that's my only that would be my only critique of that. So, yeah, it's my second time running the race. NYRR invited me to run it, and it is, I think, my favorite. I had spectated the race previously, but it's just such an incredible experience to be a part of 10,000 other women and the 9 men who couldn't read the room. 10,000 women. And
Wait, 9 men signed up and ran?
every year I'm like, is it like, do you just not know, or what's going on here, sir? I'll save my thoughts for a Patreon episode, I suppose, but that's how I feel about that. What a fabulous experience. 53 years of this race, really just honoring the first women's only themed race. It's historic. And myself, and this is the second year that Treg from Train Smart, Run Strong podcast,
Our sister podcast.
Our sister podcast got together, and we get together before because Treg and I live a couple blocks away from each other. So, and so do her parents. So I go over before
Their parents' house.
I know it's great. We glitter each other's faces.
Oh, is that a euphemism for something, or
Nope, that's actually what we do. We just
glittering?
put glitter on each other.
Right.
There's nothing there to report. But we had a really nice time. It was speaking of humid places, as Stephanie knows very well, it was over 80% humidity. And again, you can read what I wrote, but it was a PR for me, which was, and a part of a long run workout for me. So it was a big day, and I was very, very happy to be there and to be at the finish line to bring in all of my athletes who were running. I had 5 who ran the 10K.
And you were leading them all in the charge with the holding the flag up and leading the unit to the finish line.
The unit indeed. Such a great morning, such a great day.
Yeah. Well, we're proud of you, mostly for sharing about it and also for the PR.
I'm proud of you too, because I wasn't
going
to say anything.
Well, we know we won't let that happen here. So you have to share your week. It's contractually obligated segment of the podcast. So thank you, Amanda, for all those lovely details. We loved hearing them.
Stephanie, tell us about your week.
My week. Honestly, y'all, I am in the depths of the end of volleyball season. So we had a tournament last weekend, and then we leave for a 4-day tournament in a couple of days. So I feel like I just don't know. I guess the best way to put it is just, I'm tired of being an adult. Like, that's kind of the feeling. Like, I'm just like, wow, there's just a lot of responsibility with being an adult, and I'm kind of tired of it. So that's my week. My week was like, when can I stop being an adult? That would be really nice. And it's just not going to happen because I have kids. But it's so nice to have it come to an end and to just have my time back to myself. Because during the volleyball season, everything has to adjust and change. My runs have to change, or Just the older my kids get, the more I value my time, like the time that is for me. So this week has been trying to savor the fact that things are ending, but also celebrate the fact that I can have time for myself, which is great because there's this week, this little race, the Chicago Marathon, training started for it. So I'm like, oh, I guess I need to get my shit together.
18 weeks, right?
Yeah,
It's
18 weeks away. And apparently I've got to start to get together for that, right? So it's just, I don't want to adult, and yet I'm doing all these things that are very responsibility heavy.
yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. So that's just, it's all part of the chaos. I think that's what it is, just chaos of life.
Yeah. Chaos counselor that you are. But is volleyball like a super
Coordinator.
Coordinator? I know, but I like to add counselor because it's like summer.
You're giving her like another title. She
Yeah,
does
more
like
titles.
Director of Chaos.
Director of Chaos.
Role.
I was gonna say, is volleyball like a super travel sport for kids?
If they play club volleyball, then
Gosh.
yeah. So for her, she practices 3 days a week, and we just went off of 5 weekends straight of volleyball tournaments, 1 weekend off. Then she had this past weekend and this upcoming weekend. So if you play for a club, depending of the level that you're at, it's pretty time intensive and it's expensive as hell.
Yeah. It's crazy how many kids sports are like traveling all over the place. The only one I really get is hockey, like ice hockey, because like if you live in a certain state, like you literally can't play. Versus like like you could play soccer. You don't need to travel 4 states over for a soccer tournament. There's probably 80,000. There's like probably 80,000 kids in your state alone most of the time that play soccer. Just like I used to play in my county, or like 30-minute drives, 45-minute drives. Like traveling 4 states over, getting a hotel to play in a tournament against some team, 5 states over. Who cares? I don't know. It seems crazy for like 6, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. I don't know.
Yeah, I try to tell my daughter that I feel like, at least within the volleyball world, and I may be wrong, but it's up until they're 15, it's fun. At 15 is when they start talking about recruiting and colleges, and it kind of takes on a different dimension. So we're in that phase of hopefully having fun. I hope she's having fun. And also that it's just in between. She's like in such an in between phase because she's 13, but next year she'll be a part of a 14s team. So it's like she's getting older. But yeah, listen, they had a tournament not too long ago, and we spent $200 in one weekend between tickets and parking.
Ugh, I forgot they charge you to get in too.
On top of what? Just for being,
just for you have to have a cheer all the time. You have to pay to get inside the event. Like, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I think that's why my parents, I mean, it's not why, but I never saw my parents they did not come to a single lacrosse game I played, which is, I think, why now I'm unpacking that childhood trauma now.
Track and field, they never charged. I could go, like, my parents could just show up because it's to get a track. Like, they didn't care. And track doesn't make money.
Okay. All right. Very well. I'm looking forward to you having more time for yourself. And by time for yourself, I mean time to train for a marathon. So it just seems like we're just replacing the chaos.
Absolutely.
But at least it's chaos that you have your rhythm in, and looking forward to that build for you.
Thank you.
All right, co-host Nick, give us your brief but spectacular week.
Oh my. It was brief and spectacular. I did a race. I did a spontaneous race on my favorite locally, the Baltimore 10 miler, which is known for hills and heat and humidity. Although it was only 75 this year, so that's good. Lower temperatures, and it rained. So a little bit of winds, but fun time running with my friend. I love the course. It's a lot of cheering. It's a good race. It kicks off the summer usually, really, for racing down here. So saw a lot of friends, and got a watermelon, got a kiwi post race. They were encouraging us to eat the skins, and my friend immediately told them, "Do you know Amanda Katz? Because she encourages everyone to eat the skins too." They did not know you, unfortunately, but they will.
Nope. I hope not. Nope. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Big
Outing
Kiwi's gonna sponsor this podcast one day. That's for sure.
I was so impressed that they were there.
Yeah, it's summer. We're kicking out kiwis and watermelon. That was the big post race and beers. But
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, it went well. We're training my daughter. We're doing a father-daughter 5K for Father's Day. I got my daughter excited to do it. She has never run further than a mile, and by run a mile, it's a walk run a mile. That's okay. But when I told her there was a kids fun 1 mile walk that we could have like fun run walk we could have done, and I said it was a mile long and that's as far as you've usually gone, she said, no, I want to do the 5K. And I explained several times that it's 3 miles. And she said, no, I want to do it. So we set out on Sunday and we ran, and we had ourselves a time, and we did about a mile and a half. And she said, that's so far. And are we done yet? And I said, oh, the race is going to be double that. So we are signed up for a 5K. I think there's an option that we could drop back to the kids 1 mile fun run, but I think my daughter will want to do the whole thing. So might just be some walking. But I got her some glitter, and with some recommendations from Mick, fan of the podcast, fellow running explain coach, to put some glitter on her eyes, so to get her a little excited about doing the race. So hopefully get her to like running without like forcing it. Like little
All
fun
through
things.
that glitter.
Yeah,
Just
I
the
mean,
glitter is going to make her enjoy it.
that's the hope, right? Little things, the little fun things you can do that have nothing to do with the running itself.
Got it.
That's literally the vibe on social media anyway, half the time. I digress. But so we'll report back next week about how the kids' father-daughter 5K went. But excited. I've never done a race with her, so it'll be really fun.
Cool. Very cool. We're happy for you, Coach Nick.
Thanks.
Let's get into today's episode. So, Stephanie, we want to start a little bit about your story. How'd you get into running? The topic of this conversation is breaking down the barriers in the sport. So we also want to know if you felt welcomed right away, and the times or the moment that you maybe recognize that running isn't or wasn't accessible to everyone.
Okay, so I started running in 2012, and if you all know me and you've heard this story, you're being blessed with hearing it another time. So I started running in 2012 when my daughters were 2.5 years old and 6 months old. And I picked running because it was something that I could do with them. I was a stay-at-home mom. I could just put them in a stroller with snacks and toys, and I could go out. Doing anything else wasn't accessible for me because I didn't have a lot of support with childcare. And I wanted to exercise because I wanted to show my daughters what it was like to be a healthy, active woman, and that being active was just part of life. It wasn't anything that we did to lose weight. It wasn't anything we did because we wanted to look a certain way by a certain date. It was just active is active, and it's a lifestyle. That is probably, thankfully, or I guess not thankfully, once I knew I was having daughters, I did a lot of research into eating disorders and what were the protective factors for my kids. And just, I was very, very aware about eating disorders, body image issues. Again, because I had daughters, those were things that were very present for me. And the main things that came up were modeling behaviors and how important it was for me to model being active, how important it was for us to sit around the dinner table and eat together. Just those are different things that were protective factors. So again, running was that thing that I was like, oh, I can do it with them. Like that is modeling to the extreme, sticking them in a stroller and they're going to see me and feel me pushing them. And when I started running, it was with a Couch to 5K program, just one that I found online. I had no clue what I was doing. Absolutely nothing. I was blessed with being young, which means my body could recover very quickly from not doing things well. And I ran a 5K in September of 2021. And I just thought it was so cool to be out there. And that race was very supportive for me because I was one of the only parents out there pushing a stroller. So everyone was like, "Great job. You did it with the stroller." And I'm like, "Wait, I can get down with this level of feedback and like people cheering me on, all because I'm pushing my kids in a stroller." And I guess after that race, I was pretty hooked on it. I loved the feedback. I'm someone who enjoys feedback, and when people praise me, I love it. And I looked into local running groups and what running groups are here in Miami. At that time, I was in Miami, and I came across a Galloway running group, which was in line with the Couch to 5K program that I did because it was a run walk method. And Jeff Galloway, he's known for the run walk method. So I reached out to the group and I said my email, and to this day, I still tell, anytime I see this person, I always tell her, I'm like, "You are one of my muses of running," because if it wasn't for your encouragement early on, I probably wouldn't have done it. I sent her an email and I said, "I have 2 young kids. I don't really know if I can commit to running with a group, but I'm curious. I just want to know what it's like." So they held an open house. I went, and the woman who's running the group, she told me, "My sister has kids and she makes time for running. Come, we'll figure it out." So for me, my entry into running was very, very supportive. My first training partner, she was training for her first marathon at that time, and I remember telling her, "I don't know if I can commit to running on Saturdays. I don't think I can do it. I have 2 kids." At that point, I was using my kids as an excuse, and honestly, to this day, I still use my kids as an excuse for when I don't want to do something. Like, I'll be like, "I can't, I got to be with the kids," or whatever the case is. But back then, it was on a run that I told her I didn't think I could commit to running. And she told me, "I have 2 kids as well, and I'm making it work. So you need to figure it out." Basically, she called me out on my bullshit of using my kids as an excuse. And it was such a wonderful thing for me. I think there are moments where we need tough love. And in that moment, I needed that tough love of, if this is important to you, you can make it happen. And if it's important to you, the people who love you will support you to make it happen. So I was able to commit to running on Saturdays, and I ran 3 half marathons within 6 weeks of each other. I do not recommend that when you're first starting off as a runner. And it was all just because I loved my training group so much, and I had so much fun discovering who I was as a runner. And in that time, it was also rediscovering who I was as a person that wasn't just a mother, because my kids were young. I was a stay-at-home mom. They were just the focus of everything that I did. And it was and is very easy to, at least for me, to get swallowed up in parenthood and in motherhood and in losing my identity, because taking care of kids and trying to raise good humans, that running was that space where nothing else mattered. It didn't matter. Like, my name didn't matter. Where I came from didn't matter. Who I was married to, where I lived. None of that mattered, because we were all just out there trying to do something hard. And in a race, we were all just out there trying to get to the finish line. So in the beginning, I felt it was really inclusive. But I came up, and I'm curious when both of you all joined Instagram, because that's like a big part of my story. I feel like is I got on Instagram to share my running journey. And in that time, I felt like all I ever saw were PRs, Boston qualifiers, Olympic trial qualifiers. Like, it seemed like everyone was getting fast, and that the whole purpose of running was to get fast. So when I started running, I just wanted to see what I could do. It wasn't about getting fast. It was just like, I got into the Chicago Marathon. I guess that's what we're doing. And I trained for it, and I did it. I signed up for a 5K because I just wanted to see if I could do it. It wasn't because I wanted a particular time. I just wanted to see if I could do it. But being online and on Instagram, and this is why I have issues with something like Instagram or social media, it exposed me to other people's goals and other people's training, I guess, that I kind of lost my way with what I was doing. And on top of that, around the same time, the Galloway group that I was a part of, people moved, left. So what was left in Miami for me were the running groups that were all about getting fast. And I remember going to a run club once. I had my daughters with me because, again, stay at home mom. My kids had to work out with me when I worked out. And they had a speed workout. And I was really excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do this speed workout. I get there and they tell me, oh, this route isn't kid friendly. So if you want to run the workout, you need to leave your kid on the corner and then like come back. And I was like, what? So I left. And I was like, I will not be returning to that because I just didn't feel seen as a person who had to bring her kids with her. I didn't have anyone else to, to watch them, which I'm sure that's the story for a lot of parents out there. And I felt pretty lost because I wanted to get fast, but my way of getting fast wasn't how other people were operating at, right? So that point felt not very inclusive to me or to just the athlete that I was becoming. And I became a solo runner after that, where I logged most of my miles by myself. Then the pandemic hit, and that was very isolating. And I realized I need to make friends because if not, I'm going to go crazy just always by myself with my kids, right? And I started to go to run clubs again, but I was almost always the very last runner, which is not a great feeling all the time. And yeah, so I feel like when I started running, it was very inclusive. Then it became very pace focused, which wasn't in alignment with how I wanted to approach running or even the joy that running brought me, because running stopped being fun for me. Running became this thing I had to do in order to get faster instead of running is something I get to do because I just want to see what my body can do. Pandemic comes. I start to go to run clubs. Even now, I hesitate so much when I go to run clubs because I absolutely hate when they say all paces welcome. And it's actually not all paces welcome. So most of the time when I go to run clubs, I go into them with the expectation that I will probably be left behind or all the way in the back or not included, I guess, even when, you announce, hey, I'm a new person. I've gotten very lucky this year with 2 run clubs that I've gone to that have been very inclusive. But for the most part, I think there's a lag. There's a lag behind who's coming into the sport and the reason why people are coming into the sport, and this long held approach to running that you do it only to get faster. Whereas I feel like now there's more people that are coming into the sport because they're either curious about distances or they're entering some kind of life crisis where they feel like I need to run a marathon in order to get through this point of life or whatever the case is. But I feel like there's still a disconnect between who's showing up and the space that there is to actually welcome people. Now, I said a lot of words there, so
Yeah.
I'll take a moment to pause.
Yeah, no, a lot of that makes sense. A lot of that's so I came up a little different. I've talked about it. My experience with running, I started in high school and college, and all you knew was the reason you were running is it was a sport, so you're doing it for competitive reasons. And then I came back and still only knew the sport in that way. I did a lot of run clubs where I was near the front, but like more still wanted to align with people, but understood that it wasn't all they weren't always all paces included. We tried to do a better job. We would announce paces when we started and like try and sync people up, but like it was known to be a faster run club. But as I've grown more in this sport, like I've acknowledged that yeah, I'm still chasing PRs at times, but there's also times I'm just running because it's fun or I'm running with friends and I don't really care. I'm running races with friends. And there can be many different reasons to run, and that it can feel like it's intimidating for people to show up at an all-inclusive, all paces included run when there is not. And like I always feel like people don't take the responsibility of hosting a run club with that in mind. Like if you host a run club, if you want to host a run club, you want to create your own run club, your responsibility is everyone who shows up. And if you're not willing, if someone shows up and they want to run 11-minute pace and you run 8-minute pace and there's no one else who wants to run 11-minute pace, you're going to run 11-minute pace with that person because this is your run club and you're responsible for the people who show up. And like, that's how I feel. And so I don't, that's a big burden to take on if you want to start a run club, but take that responsibility and make sure you own it.
I have two thoughts. One of the things that occurred this past week was Global Running Day, and Brooks had invited me to be a pacer, hired me to be a pacer, and they listed like the available times that they needed pacers for. And I don't talk about my paces a lot, but what I will say is that, and you don't need to, I don't have a Strava, so you're going to have to rely on digging the deep dark web if you want to find out. I don't think it's an important part of my journey as a runner. I noticed that they didn't have, the slowest pace that they had was 11-minute mile. They wanted me to run in the faster pace groups. Like they wanted me to pace. I said, well, I noticed that you don't have anything slower, and I would love to pace the run walk group. Like I would love to pace the walking group. And I had pitched it. I was like, well, I'm not going to do any of those others. Like, this is what I want to do. And they were like, oh, okay. And that felt really good for me, like a little bit of a win in some weird regards. So that's my first thought, that I think that the people I know who are incredibly fast, I'm thinking about Coach Nick. I'm thinking about my dear friend Carlos, who paced me for my half marathon PR this past May. These are fast runners. These are across the board, sub-3, Nick's credentials. What are you, 90-second marathoner or something like that?
Around.
And these are two men who I've run with before, who I am not a 90-second marathoner. And they've run with me the whole time. And it has very little to do this has more to do with the fact that people, if you agree to host a run club or you agree to be a part of a group run, but your ego gets in the way of that, and you're like, oh, but if I have to slow down, whatever story you tell yourself, then you shouldn't be a part of that group or that specific run club. Because a run club and being a part of a group run that is pace inclusive, actually pace inclusive, is about building community. And in my opinion, respectfully, that's very individualistic of you to come into that space that is about building community and about building inclusivity when you really only care about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so I feel like if I had to describe my running journey, right, it started off as, just briefly, was something to do for my kids, to be a role model for them. Then I fell in love with the sport, and it turned into, I want to see what I can do, right? I just want to see what I'm capable of. Then it turned into, let's go for PRs. Let's try to get these PRs. And for some people, PRs really, really motivating. And I honor that. I respect that. I freaking celebrate that. For some people, PRs are not motivating. And I happen to be one of those people where PRs are not motivating. I still want PRs. And that's kind of the struggle I go with myself, where it's like, oh, I still want PRs. I still think that I'm capable of having PRs, but how I define a PR has changed now, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a PR, maybe it's a PR, which I think it was the London Marathon 2 years ago when I ran it, and I had so much going on in my life that I remember going on Instagram and saying, the PR of this race is going to be surviving. Like, there's a PR in survival. I have survived my life up until this point to make 26.2 possible. So I've gone from, okay, yes, time-based PRs to now thinking about, what else can I make a record in? What else? Is it a feeling? Is it taking the context of life into consideration when we're doing these things? Is it that this is something that's going to help me be in the sport for the long term? Now my focus is more just longevity. What do I need to do in order to be in the sport for a long time? And with that focus of longevity, these ideas of PR have had to change, at least for me, in order for me to keep showing up and doing the work and having fun and almost creating the path that makes the most sense for me. But it's hard. And it's hard because we're surrounded by so many messages of, you've got to run all the miles and you've got to do all these workouts. And if you're not doing this and you're not eating this and you're not, doing this for recovery, you're not going to accomplish that. And it's like, but we're all so different. But I wanted to go back, and I'm such a nerd because I have my paper here and I was taking notes because I'm like, I don't want to forget to say this. But I think, Amanda, and to what you're saying is that it costs nothing to slow down, right? Like it costs nothing to slow down to help someone feel like they belong and to help someone feel like they matter. Their presence matter, right? But when I've been there where I show up to a run club and I will send, like, if I'm ever going to a new run club, I will always send a message of, hey, what are your paces? Like, I need to know what your paces are again, so I can adjust my expectations of, is this where I want to be or is it not where I want to be? And the last time that it happened to me that it was real hurtful was a couple of years ago. I believe I was training for the Chicago Marathon and we were in Orlando, Florida for a weekend. I reached out to a local run group because I had a 16-mile long run. And I asked them, what are your paces? And they said, all paces are welcome. Please come. I went to the run club and they had all the new people introduce themselves, which is yay. They had new people introduce themselves. So now like, hey, this person right there is new to the group. But when we started running, I didn't even last half a mile with that group. Like they all just took off. And I was like, okay, well, that's the last time I ever come to this run group. So there is something really powerful about being the person who decides to hold off on their workout or pull back on pace so that they can be with the new people, so that you can be that welcoming face. Because I really do believe that those of us that are in the running community, we have a responsibility to those of us or those who are new to running. Because if you're showing up to that run club and you're getting left behind, chances are either you may never go back to that run club or you may think, hey, running is not for me. And for me, I never want people to get to that point.
A couple of things that you spoke about that I wanted to go into. Let's go back a second or a couple of minutes ago. You kind of touched on it, but let's talk a little bit about financial accessibility and the financial costs of not only running as a sport, but racing and how it's evolved and what you've witnessed. So you asked about our stories, and my stories, as you know, Stephanie, and as everyone who's listened to this podcast knows, I'm a late bloomer runner. I've been on Instagram for a long time, but I didn't really use it as a part of my running journey or really my business until after the pandemic. So newer to that scene, and it's wild. Talk to me a little bit about financial accessibility.
Okay, I can go as simple as, I'll give you 2 examples. When I first started running, Brooks Ghosts, because I know you know Brooks, those shoes were less than $100. And it was only one type. It was just Brooks Ghost. There wasn't Brooks Ghost Max and this and that. It was like your Brooks Ghost. When I started running, that was your standard shoe that every shoe store recommended. $100. Okay, it's an investment. All right, we got this. When I started running, my very first half marathon was the Miami Half Marathon. I think I paid maybe $60 to do that race. Now, if you try to register for the Miami Half Marathon, it's $200 for the race. All right. So not only is the gear more expensive, but racing in general is so expensive. And look, I will be the first to say that I have absolutely no clue what it takes to create these products, the permitting for races. I don't know what the cost is behind making things happen, but it's so bizarre to me to think that people still say running is free. Like, it's so easy because it's free. It's not.
So wild.
Y'all, it is not free. Yes, you can wear your regular tennis shoes to go out for a run, but guess what? You might wear them, then you get injured, and then you're out hundreds of dollars with a PT, right? Like, and not only that, I feel like, again, when I first started running, it was all about local races. Like, go support your local races, run your local races. Now, there is this, everyone travels to race. And I'm like, where do you all get the money and the time off? Like, the flights. And listen, I'm very guilty, right? I'm going to Chicago, and I was looking at flights earlier, and I'm like, we're going to spend $1,000 on freaking flight just to go to Chicago so I can run a marathon. Whereas, before the pandemic, we would spend maybe $250 a flight. It's gotten more expensive, and I feel like we've collectively have lost our way in terms of keeping running simple so that more people can do it. But if you go online, and again, I'm very guilty, I have a shoe rotation as well. But when I started running, I got away with a lot with one pair of shoes. Now it's like you go online and you're like, wait, I need to have a shoe rotation that has a shoe for every day of the week and different runs. And I'm like, you don't need that. Like, let's not worry about that. So I think I know because I've experienced where running used to be cheaper and everything used to be simpler. I think that's just it. It was simpler. And now you think you don't need a $1,000 watch to go do your run, right? Yeah. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on running gear and shirts and shorts. Granted, yes, do that if it feels good for you and it works for you and you've got the money for it. But I think there's this confusion between what you actually need to do what you're doing and what you think you need because that's what everybody else is saying you need.
Yeah. It's changed. I mean, I was running 2011 races were not, I mean, nearly as much. It wasn't about all the, traveling all over the place to run races. Shoes don't even last as long as they used to. I used to wear Brooks Ghosts, and you get 500 miles on them now. Like you get arrested by the police, the running police, if you try and push shoes to 500 miles, and the Instagram police will definitely get you. Running got more popular, and what comes with popularity is money, and what comes with money is people who want a piece of that pie. And this is why there's running review sites that tell you need every single shoe is great and you should buy it. And are they giving honest reviews, or are they just getting the shoes and they want to tell you need all 4 pairs of shoes? Companies put out their shoe rotations, like you said, and it's like $1,200 to get the 4 shoes. You need the easy day shoe and the tempo shoe and the speed shoe and the long run shoe, and then you probably need a race shoe too. So $1,500 and you're ready to go for your training block. So, people want to tell you what you need because they want to market. And, people have been running in this sport for a long time, a long, long time. Men's time haven't necessarily changed a ton. Men used to be able to run two 11s, 212s, 215 marathons, and now we're a little faster because of technology, but not because of all of this. Women's times have gotten faster just because there's more women running than ever. It's not only the technology, but technology helps. And so if you want to get yourself a pair of super shoes, we don't need literally everything, but it's consumerism, right? We just want to push that if you don't have all of this, you can't achieve. And then, like you said, it's just shown that, we're traveling everywhere to run every race. Some people you follow are at a new race every weekend all over the country. And you're like, how does that work? I don't get it.
Right.
But again, they're people who are the brand. So their brand is traveling to races to promote. And then we watch it and we're like, oh, is that normal now? So it's not, right? It's not normal because we're not them. And so the comparison gets bad. But at the end of the day, get a pair of shoes. Like, you don't need anything fancy, and you just run a race, right? There's still 5K. Like, I think people lose the ball on There's park runs, which are free most of the time. There are local you can join a local running club. I have several near me: Baltimore Road Runners Club, Howard County Striders, little clubs that put on very unaffordable races. There's a club by me that puts on a 5K, and it's like $2 if you're a member. Being a member is like $25 a year, and it helps the club. It's not a profit club. They put $8 for non-members sometimes. Like, there's cheap races where you can just go run, and it's not about $120 to run a 5K and you get a medal and a banana, and you're like, what else went into this? What? So you can look.
How much will I pay for validation? That's the real question. And I think you gave examples of events that are doing it right and doing their best to make it more financially inclusive and just bringing in the community. I prefer local races, despite living in a city under an organization like NYR where no race now is considered local through New York Road Runners.
You can't even get in.
I have to go elsewhere to get to
New Jersey.
Races. It's true. No, it's true. But we do have some smaller organizations here in New York that I am happy to share with anyone that put on running events, and they are fabulous. And you are supporting these smaller organizations. If we could go back a second to something that I am very aware of, not from my body, because I exist with thin privilege and I've never had an issue with accessing athletic wear. I've had to change my sizing, but I've never had an issue with it. However, my clients and my friends and people I love have been in a situation where they can't get the size that they need, or the brands are not supporting women in the way that they need to because the sports bras are not for sports. So Stephanie and I think I can't recall if we've spoken about it on your podcast or in our voice notes, because sometimes that's what it is. But can we talk a little bit about the gap in gear and making it more inclusive?
Gosh, the gear, we can't underestimate the importance of gear, because sometimes the gear is what makes you confident in what you're about to do. And I know I've shared this before, that on those days where I'm like, I feel like shit, I try to pick out the cutest outfit that will help me not, like, I'll be out there and I'll be like, well, may feel like shit, but at least I look great, right? Like, that's awesome. So I feel like I'm going to go a little off topic here, because I feel like brands are doing a better job at creating products that are more size inclusive. My big rub right now is that the brands will charge more money for the more size inclusive clothing. That's kind of where...
What brands have you seen do that? Because we name names here. So what... Because I genuinely, I'm trying to remember I did look and I saw a brand do this, and I don't think we should support brands like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where was the most recent that I saw.
I'll have to look it up and then say something.
I think it's one of those bigger brands, like more national brands. I don't think it was Athleta, but I feel like it's like that.
Was it Athleta?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We're gonna do some fact checking on that.
Please fact check me. Don't Athleta, I'm not coming after you. But I'm almost positive it's one of those bigger brands that it's nominal, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's $2 or a couple of bucks more, but it's still like, but why? Why does it have to be more? Especially when we're looking at athletic clothing that, first of all, the sizing isn't even true to size, right? You'll get something that's like, I laugh because in my household, I have two girls, they're 15 and 13, and all three of us, even with our different body types, can wear the same leggings. So who's to say that my size is my daughter's size, even though we all have different body types, right? Like, very different shapes, I've got 41 years to their 15 and 13 years, and yet we're all wearing the same leggings. Like, so at this point, it's like, what is size, right? Like, what is what's the difference between an 8, a 10, a 12, a 16, obviously between a 2 and a 16, there's a difference. But what is such a difference, or can you really justify that you're using more material on a bigger size when you're probably already not paying a lot to make that clothing to begin with? So it's gotten better. It's the clothing, the size inclusiveness has gotten better. The pricing has gotten better, even with, I always shout out Target, because I feel like Target has come such a long way in their athletic wear that if you feel their clothing, it feels very similar to a lot of the products at Lululemon, and yet it's a quarter of the price. So it's gotten better, but I think we're still missing the mark in terms of pricing of clothing, and also just the marketing, and who are your models, and who are you using to show, oh, this is I always go a little cuckoo with it whenever I see marketing for runners, because I'm like, that's great, but that person doesn't look like me, or that person is in her 20s. I want to see, at this point in my life, I'm like, I want to see the women in their 50s. Like, I want to see women in 50s. And
where's representation?
Where's the representation, so that people who are coming into the sport, particularly women, they can see themselves reflected of, oh, there is a woman who's in her 50s wearing running shorts. Maybe I can wear running shorts too, and I don't have to worry about what my legs look like, or I can feel comfortable that is a brand that represents me. There's a brand that I love. It's a local brand in Miami, and I will shout them out, even though I'm going to just drag them a little bit. But it's called Tres Piñas, and it is just, I love their clothing. But my big issue with them is their marketing. And their marketing features all very fit, muscular, young-looking people. When I'm like, I run in this city and I see a ton of people wearing their product and they don't fit, right? Like, it's not, I'm seeing women my age. I'm seeing women older than me. I'm seeing women with more.
Tres Pinas, Stephanie's available for modeling hire. She's available for hire to support your brand, because somewhat size inclusive does not cut it.
Yeah, that's kind of, so I feel like brands have gotten better, but they're still missing the mark in terms of pricing and marketing of their product, and just reflecting the diversity of people that are out there, and the people who are, I just always think of the people who are run curious, but because they don't see themselves reflected, they think it's not for them.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna, before we get into our secret, if Stephanie, if you wanted to wrap up this conversation with a beautifully accessible, affordable bow, are there like one or two things that you think real changes that brands, running organizations, run culture can change in, like, not the future, like the immediate future, to make our sport more welcoming?
I feel like pay attention to who's in the sport right now and let those people be your guide. Because if you're, again, going back to the marketing thing, if you show up to a run club and you're seeing Black people, brown people, like if you are seeing a rainbow of people, then why are you still catering to one type of person or to one group of people? So it would be that. Check in with your communities, look at who's actually showing up right now, and then figure out, how can I get the message of how wonderful running is to this person right now? Because that person has an entire community of people behind them as well. So that's where I was saying that it's those of us that are in the running community, we have the responsibility for the people who are new to the running community to welcome them. So as a brand, it's that. Take a look at who's already a part of your community, and then really just be honest with yourself and ask yourself, does my marketing, does my messaging, does it speak to the people who are here today? Because if it speaks to the people who are here today, those people are going to bring more people into the community. But if you're not speaking to who's listening right now, like whose ear you already have the attention of, you're missing out on an entire community. You're missing out on using the people who are already your biggest advocates to grow.
Love that. If I could just add a tiny bit on top, I'd say for listeners, for people who peruse social media, use your voice with who you follow and who you connect with, right? Like, if you care that much, support those people, support, the things that matter to you. And if you do support them, they will end up being the voices that are heard too. I mean, at the end of the day, unfortunately, capitalism, right? And that's how this world works sometimes. And so the people who tend to have the most followings get the most stuff. So choose your voice with your vote, with who you follow and who you engage with and who you work with. And that will affect the market and the brands and who they work with too.
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to advocate and to be a rebel. I mean, I love asking questions, and I think a lot can happen when you start to question how things are done, even if it's just can you explain to me how you came to this, right? Like, how did you decide on, how did you decide on these people to be your pacers? How did you decide on this person to be the person that's modeling your product? Or how come the race is being held on this day and not that day? There's so much. And I think social media makes a lot of people really accessible. Like, I love it. I'm like, ooh, race directors are on Instagram and I can follow them. And that's a whole different level of connection that you can have to people without really going out into the world to find it.
Agreed. No notes. Amanda, is it time for the super secret questions that Stephanie doesn't know are coming?
It sure does seem like the right time.
We've changed it this year, so prepare for new questions. Question first, which is totally different. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice I ever got was more of a question. And it was is this your goal or is it someone else's that you're chasing?
That is very well said, and good advice for everyone. Let's see. Question number the second. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Gosh, I feel like one thing people are surprised to find out about me is that I have a brother, and he's 15 years younger than me.
I'm surprised.
Where does he live?
He's here.
Is he here now?
Yeah, he's here in Miami. Yeah, he's here. He's here in Miami. He's out there.
Oh, nice.
In the world, doing his thing.
Hi, brother.
Good. You're 2 for 2. Question the third. What's something you wish more people understood about your industry?
Oh, so I feel like if we're going to stick to running, I feel like I wish more people understood that running doesn't have to look a certain way, that it can be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to wear a watch. You don't have to do a specific distance. You don't even have to do a race. You can take walk breaks. You can take breaks to take pictures of the sunrise. You can dance. It can be whatever you want it to be, as long as it's bringing you joy. And anyone who tells you otherwise needs to just mind their own business. Like, if you're not bothering them, then they should leave you alone. Or, as I say, if they're not going to bed thinking about you, you really shouldn't give their opinion more space in your mind than it deserves.
That is so well said.
Everyone needs a Stephanie Diaz on their shoulder.
We all do. Great news, Stephanie. That was the correct answer. So you got all 3 right.
Yay!
Phenomenal. Another 3 for 3, Amanda. Our guests are just always nailing it.
To the 10 10s across the board. Stephanie, we're going to let you go, but before we do, why don't you give a shout, tell people where they can find you, they can work with you, talk to us.
Yeah, the best place to connect with me would be on Instagram at the Cookie Runner. And if you are interested in coaching, I do coach through Team Sugar Runs, but really you can just reach out to me on Instagram and I will figure out how to answer your questions as best as I can. DM me there. If you really want to go and find an email, you can do Stephanie@sugarruns.com. But really, Instagram is going to be the best bet for any and all interactions because I can't handle interactions across multiple platforms.
Fair. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stephanie. And thank you everyone for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. You can reach out to us at any time. If you haven't already, follow us over on YouTube. Okay, subscribe to us over on YouTube. Stephanie also has a podcast. She didn't mention she's a podcast host. She forgot. How dare you? Her Stephanie's podcast is phenomenal. The Runners Roundtable. I'm now pitching for her. By the way, I'm the chief marketing officer. I've been on the podcast a couple of times. Most recently, she's had Vicky on. She had Kelly Roberts on recently. Please go over, and I love watching it on my television. That's the best. So you can subscribe to our podcast on there. Subscribe to Stephanie's as well, Runners Roundtable. You can email us at betweentwocoaches@gmail.com or reach out to us individually on our Instagram. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.